Hello, my name is Elad Segev, and I would like to share with you some of the ideas I developed in the latest book, Information and Power, Popular and Personal Storytelling in the Digital Age. In the book, I try to understand the concept of power and how information can help people to gain power. We basically collect information all the time. We start with data, the things we see, we smell, we hear, and then we connect things together in order to create information. This is an apple, this is a good thing, we can eat it. This is a snake, it's a bad thing, dangerous. And gradually we develop knowledge. Knowledge is about how we use the information to survive, to gain more power, to gain more advantage in life. So the more we connect between piece of data, the more we get more power, the more it becomes useful and has more meaning. Powerful stories are packed with information and knowledge. We like to tell stories, and stories always include popular and personal elements. The popular elements are the things that unite groups. They create shared meaning. The personal elements make those stories meaningful also to every individual. They are about our identity and social role within the big story. So power emerges from the balance between the two elements, the popular and the personal elements. There are many stories we tell today, but one of the major stories that people all around the world believe in is the story of capitalism. A story about we can own things. There will be our private property. We can accumulate capital. We compete always to have more and more, and it's all about growth. It is also about commodification. Everything can be bought. Even things like beauty, happiness, friendship, and love, everything is purchasable. And corporate leaders understand this and embrace this story in order to gain more economic power. They sell us desires. Desires are the popular element in the capitalist story. And we are all part of the desires as those who sell, those who buy. And we also have our occupations in this capitalist system as managers, designers, teachers. We found our place. These are the personal elements. On another level, the national level, are popular among exclusive group of people. These are stories about the culture, shared history, and identity. Populist leaders spread those stories in order to gain political power. And this shared identity helps us to build group strengths. In those stories, the nation and all the core elements of the nations are popular. And the personal elements are the role that we have, our personal role in the national story. As citizens, demonstrators, administrators, clerics, police officers, soldiers, and politicians. One of the strong stories that balance between the popular and the personal elements is democracy. Democracy has popular elements like equality, and the majority has the power to produce rules and decide things, but also the personal elements, the freedom, the human rights, the things that we can do ourselves. Democracy is the strive to balance between equality and freedom. The EU motto, for example, is united in diversity, which has the two elements, united, the popular, and diversity, the personal, or the more heterogeneous aspect. And we see this tension between the popular and the personal elements. And over the history, this pendulum, popular, personal, shifts from one side to another. Before the Second World War, there was a rise of nationalism in parts of Europe, fascism, which are all the popular element. After the Second World War, there was a shift towards the personal elements with greater liberalism and diversity, lax immigration rules. And now we see again a swing back to the popular stories and the rise of populism and nationalism. So there is always the risk of imbalance between the popular and the personal elements. Too much focus on the popular creates cultural homogeneity and the loss of the self. We have one popular stories, but we don't find our own role. Too much focus on the personal elements results in the lack of shared purpose. There is a growing heterogeneity. And leaders that understand this balance between the popular and the personal elements and therefore unable to maintain power and cohesion. Usually it results in a polarization or tribalization, many different groups that each one has its own story. Not only leaders, but also companies, very powerful companies like Google, practice this duality of popular and personal. Look at the mission statement of Google: to organize the world information and make it universally accessible and useful. The words organized and useful pack within it the popular and the personal elements. The PageRank algorithm incorporates popular and personal elements through everything we do in Google. And the success is the blending between the global and the individual needs. Take, for example, simple search. We can personalize the search by writing our own search queries. But even in the first stage, we get autocomplete, suggesting us whether we want something very popular, like car insurance, or even more personal, car insurance in Switzerland, if you're searching from Switzerland. There is always this personalization and popularization at the same time. Also in the search results, we see popular results with many incoming links, but also personal results based on our history of search. Sometimes the popular element becomes too dominant. When I search for the word beauty in Google Images, I see that Google promotes homogeneity because all the results are about young female, white female. Most of the results are also commercial websites where we can buy beauty. There is a saying that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but actually beauty is in the eyes of the algorithm or the commercial interests that control the beauty industry. The problem is that not only beauty, but almost every domain gets controlled by the commercialization and the capitalism story. Everything is reduced to buying and selling. This is a problem for both the popular and the personal, because everything summed up with what we can buy. The popular is what most people buy, or the trendy things that are now in the market, and the personal is what each one of us like to buy, our personal taste, but all of our identity is based on what we buy. As a result, there is a loss of the shared and the personal values and our need for more meaningful identities. The more we use AI, the more we let companies tell our stories. AI just embodies perfectly the popular and the personal elements, and it is trained on our own data. So it accumulates all the stories into one homogeneous story. But the more we use AI tools, the more they learn about us. And in the very near future, they will be able to write emails for us, write posts in the social media, compositions. They will take our words, they will take our personal, and this is a very big danger, the losing of our ability to tell our own popular and personal stories ourselves. We give this power to platforms and companies that write the algorithms for artificial intelligent tools. In order to rebuild our society, we must revive two values: modesty and trust. These values support meaningful stories, and they accommodate very well the personal and the popular elements. Modesty is all about the personal. Think about writing in social media. It's a very not modest thing. It encourages self-promotion and overconsumptions. Our authentic needs are buried under commercial desires. The idea of modesty is to help us to express our true personal identity, to consume less, to promote ourselves less. But it is also about bridging to the popular. It is about listening. Our personal identity, we shouldn't forget, is defined in relation to the community. And modesty is also about listening, cooperating, and finding the balance between our needs and other people's needs. Too much focus on ourselves erodes the shared values and the unity between people. So modesty helps us to achieve also the second element, the trust. Trust between people is very crucial. It is what happens when we want to create meaningful, popular elements to the story. We need this trust. So we need trustworthy leaders, not only leaders that think about themselves. We need more modest leaders. Democracy and even capitalism fail without trust, without trusting ourselves, trusting others, and trusting our leaders. In order to rebuild trust, we must improve our information environment, which is untrustable. We have a lot of fake news, we have a lot of information that is hate speech, and we don't trust other people. We need to work on various levels, from top down and bottom up. Education for trust and modesty, regulation, and technology design that embed those values. Other values that are important are truth, diligence, and respect, which are all part of the attempt to get more trustable and modest society. Future leaders need to uphold these values to provide more positive, not only negative examples. Should encourage respect and positive discourse among people. To conclude, the book Information and Power suggests not only to describe how information can gain power to people, but also how to solve some of the urgent problems in our society today. In order to achieve power, people need to balance between popular and personal elements, but the dominant stories today, both capitalism, democracy, and others, fail to provide meaningful balance, and we see this through growing unrest in our society, more demonstrations. Modesty and trust are crucial to thriving communities and individuals. We have to limit the power of commercialization and notification, limit the power of our leaders in order to gain a more trustable society and healthier communities. I hope you will enjoy reading the book and think about ways to improve our world a little bit. Thank you very much for your attention.